the H7 Flow from NZXT. Fantastic case, but as you've seen in the previous clips, there's been an issue that I've ran into with maintaining this case just for the aesthetics and the way that it lays out for the time being. The hard drive expansion and or space that it currently holds is very minimal. It only includes enough space for two 3.5-inch hard drives and then two standard size SSDs, which is no issue for those who have higher quality builds, larger drives for the SSD, and maybe rely on some 3.5-inch traditional drives or mechanical drives for everything else, as for backup or whatever it may be used. For me, on the other hand, I didn't want to invest too much into the SSD portion of it, so I bought a lot of 3.5-inch mechanical drives, which now I ended up with 4 total. A bit excessive, but that's kind of what my workflow is requiring of me right now until I get a better setup. But the NZXT H7 only holds 2 3.5-inch drives, like previously mentioned. So the addition of 2 more was nearly impossible, and whether I returned this case and picked up a different case was definitely an option, but I had already built this thing out, I had work coming in, and I couldn't necessarily just put a pause on my working rig and set aside my projects, which as many of you probably know, is almost a no-go. So that's where this comes in. And I used the Rhino 3D modeling software, which is used for various things, as well as the Bamboo Lab P1S, which I'll go ahead and touch on both these in a different video and how I set up my workflow to create this very simple adapter plate. But the adapter plate itself, again, is very simple. It's a 2-layered, 2-tiered adapter plate that holds the hard drive and essentially bolts up into the area where 3 120mm fans would go and or a 360mm rad would go for water cooling purposes. For me though, I ended up repurposing that area for hard drives, and the hard drive cage that came with my old NZXT case that was just lying around and was a perfect fit for what I needed. I think, and I believe I'll have to check, it holds 3 3.5-inch drives, which at the moment I still have a slot for 1 more, which is fantastic in case I do decide to expand and get a larger drive, which I hope I don't have to. But nonetheless, creating the plate was very easy. It was very simple. If I had slightly better tools to measure right down to the last millimeter, I wouldn't have had to create 7 iterations as you've seen in the video. But this is going to be a production part, a very standard, very straightforward approach to those who want to expand their memory and or storage within the H7 Flow and don't really plan on adding more cooling and or expensive extravagant cooling like custom builds for water cooling. But this will be production number 1. Obviously this is a test print and not even the right one because the right one is in my case, but I will be working on final quality prints that I can just throw up somewhere, and then if anybody needs it, then they will be on sale. And then secondly, what I will be doing is working on getting the hard drive cage itself, the entirety, where it's just the actual cage itself that you've seen in the video, along with the adapter plate that has quick release for the hard drives, but that on a later time, if I have time to design that. But I just wanted to go over more or less why this was even a thing. I couldn't find anything online where it would enable me to just download one from the internet and print it myself, and or any company that sold already made ones. So unless I just didn't dig deep enough or deep enough, it was just not available to me. So out of necessity, I designed my own product, which in turn kind of led to create this channel and maybe even sell these parts for people who don't have the ability to either design them or the product just doesn't exist, which is kind of hard these days. Almost everything exists, but every now and then you run into strange little situations like this. But it's been a great experience, and in turn, like I said, this is going to spawn a few other videos around 3D printing and modeling and creating other products that may be useful for everyone else. So if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If you want to check out some of my other work outside of 3D printing and even technology, I do have a design studio that revolves around architecture, and you can go ahead and check that out because I will be doing and working on a lot of architectural models that do require this 3D printer. So with that said, do your thing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.